Welcome to the Reawakening Ancient Feminine Wisdom in Pregnancy, Birth, and Motherhood Summit. I'm your host, Nancy Lucina, and today Maha Al Musa will be joining us. Maha has been an international independent childbirth educator since 1997. She is the founder and creator of Embody Birth, her signature childbirth preparation program for mothers-to-be and birth professionals worldwide, as well as Belly Dance Birth, her award-winning prenatal dance practice video series. She's the award-winning author of The Dance of the Womb, an international speaker, a breastfeeding advocate, a pregnancy and birth consultant, and a mother to 3 beautiful children, all born as nature intended. Through her work, Maha wants to encourage every woman to align with the innate birth wisdom that resides within their wombs and trust in its guidance. Today, Maha and I discuss how every woman has a living library within, how to access this potent wisdom, the mystical sides of childbirth, and so much more. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we have with us Maha Al Musa from mahaalmusa.com. Thank you so much for being here, Maha. Welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. Lovely to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I resonate so deeply with so much of the language you use about the birth experience, about pregnancy and motherhood. I want to ask you to start with what you mean, because I've heard you use this in some interviews I watched with you. What do you mean by the mystical codes of the feminine? I thought that would be a good starting place.
Yes. Well, the mystical codes of the feminine are all that resides within us as women. That is everything we know and everything that we don't know. So it is the mystery of life that resides within us as women. And in relation to birthing, it is all of that wisdom within our womb that we have access to. Whether we know we do or we don't, it is always there and available to us. So in this sort of modern day, women are wanting to know everything intellectually. Everything is coming through the head space. And those mystical codes that are within the body are ancient. They are our ancient lineage that connect us to all of the women that have come before us, all of the spirit of the feminine that has pervaded this earth, and all of our ancestry and all of the women that we are connected to. That is what resides within us. And they are what I refer to as those mystical codes. And for birth, this is what gives me reassurance that I know all that I need to know for birthing. Because if I can open and activate and access those codes, then I will be guided by my innate knowing, by the inner guidance that is within me. So for me, it's a tool of reassurance when I teach and to tell women as well, know everything and then throw it all away and then trust in that mystical code within you, because birth is a sacred, somatic, shamanic experience. And that is the roots of birth. And that is where the growth of that beautiful garden of birth emanates from, is from planting those codes that are already within us and watching them grow, watering them, caring for them, and trusting in them that they will guide me to exactly where I need to be on my journey. And this is the thing about birth. It is an individual journey. It is our own story. The way that I give birth and the way I do birth might be very different to how you do that. But we are all still connected by our roots that are seeded within this landscape, these mystical codes. And that is taking birth to a level that is about spirituality. It is not the clinical medical model that most women get fed. It is saying that birth is a rite of passage experience. And I don't know how it's going to look for you. You may not know how it looks for me. But what we know is we are walking this path of excavating very, very deeply into our emotional and energetic world. And then again, accessing these codes that are my guidance, that will shine a light on where I need to be. What is it that I need to self-inquire into? What is it that I need to heal? Where is it that I need to transform? And these codes are what is my guiding light, so to speak. So we all carry that. And I think that if we could reframe the way in which we speak about birth, which is using this kind of language that I call the feminine language of birth. Yeah. So we are owning and taking responsibility for this journey in the way that we want and the way that we choose, by using the words and the phrases and the language of the feminine, not being dictated to and being told, no, this is how it will look and this is how it is, and you must subscribe to that. I say no. It is an individual journey of each woman bringing these souls to the earth. This is a great responsibility that we carry. And to limit it, Nancy, to limit it and put it into a little box and say, this is how it will look for you. And I say in my embody birth work, how can you take an expansive experience that is birth and place it into a little limited container, and then expect a mother's her body to open? How on earth does that work? To me, it makes no sense. As a woman who's birthed 3 babies as nature intended, there is no way that I could have birthed in such a small, compartmentalized space to open to this expansive experience in limitation, in a bodily sense, in an emotional and energetic sense. It absolutely makes no sense. And this is what my work is about. In some ways, about coming back to the basics.
Yeah.
That's what we've lost.
Yep.
We've really lost what is birth really about. And for me, in my embodied birth work, it's about 3 things. It's about philosophy, physiology, and practice. So they're the 3 basic areas we come back to, but then we go deep. We excavate deeply into those places of philosophy, physiology, and practice.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you speak so eloquently about it. It's just so, so beautiful. I'm probably going to be crying by the end of this interview. But you're right. It's such a remembering process, isn't it?
Yes.
It's
a remembering and knowing. Remember.
Yeah. Yes.
Know.
Yeah. Okay, let's say someone's listening to this and they're going, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Now, how the heck do I access those codes or like my womb wisdom? What do I even do? I think women are really, in a way, so used to being told how to do things, right? So they're like, but how? How do I even remember and reawaken and then know? And so are there specific things that you can recommend to help bring women down into their bodies from their minds,
Well, that's what I've been doing for 21 years.
Yes,
that's my
I
know. So my teaching originally was belly dance for birth 21 years ago when I started when I was pregnant with my first son, and then I started teaching when he was 6 months of age. And I'm of Palestinian Lebanese origin. So my roots are very, very deep in my Middle Eastern cultural roots. And my grandmother, whose name was Amina, which was the name of my daughter, she birthed 9 babies, and we had a birthing house in our village in Palestine. Yeah. So in our village of Al-Kubab, which was called the Domes, and she would come to this birthing house, and a midwife would come and attend her, and she would have all her children around her, and this is where she birthed 9 babies. And when I became pregnant with my first son, this is where I started to connect to this remembering, this knowing. And it was through the Middle Eastern roots that I carried very deeply, which then extended out to my universal roots to all women, was where I discovered the dance of birth, the dance of the womb, the dance of the feminine. And it was when I was talking to Sheila Kitsinger, who loved my work, and she said, yes, Maha, birth is a song and a dance.
Mm.
And I said, it is. It's like, it's lyrical, it's poetic. It has this beautiful rhythm and pace and tempo that takes you in and out of your, the primal brain and the neocortex. It takes us deep down into the body, but it's also improvisational. It's spontaneous. There's no choreography to it. In one moment, I don't know, do I need to be lying down, closing my eyes and breathing deeply? In the next moment, I need to stand and move and sway my hips and circle. And so these elements of dance were shown to me. I was called to the dance of birth. And that called me back to my roots, my Middle Eastern roots, of the ancient womanly belly dance movements. And so that is where I've taken women through these beautiful ancient belly dance birth movements of my cultural roots to bring you down into your body, to connect with your baby, to access your womb wisdom, to create expansiveness in your body so you can hear your body speaking to you.
Right.
Yep. You can't hear your body speak if you are in constriction and fear.
Yeah.
Although constriction and fear is also valuable and valid, because that takes me into further inquiry into my body. So everything is valuable that rises up within us as women. And there's this idea that we have to sort of trim or cut off parts of ourselves when we are pregnant and giving birth in order to fit into that small little compartment that I was talking about before. But my work is about expanding, opening, inquiring, feeling, not so much thinking, feeling into my body. And so these belly dance birth movements are a beautiful way to bring you into your body. And we use all of the nature's shapes and rhythms. So we use the circle, the figure eight movement, the spiraling movement, the wave-like movements. And that is how we let go of the mind so we can listen to what our baby is telling us. We can listen to what our body is telling us. So when we practice these movements in pregnancy, we become familiar with connecting to nature, our inner nature, our innate knowing, the mystical codes, the wisdom of the womb, the emotional, energetic, spiritual, and intellectual body. All of those dance together. And then we kind of let it all go and go into this mindful meditation. And we just let our bodies move and take us where we need to go in that particular moment. So that gets me ready for birth, because I can't choreograph birth.
Right.
I can't choreograph. I don't know where my body needs to take me in every unfolding moment. So for me, it makes sense when I'm preparing in pregnancy for birth, I am engaging in something that mirrors the birth process. And for me, the Embody Birth program that I teach that incorporates belly dance birth takes me to the places I will need to go when I give birth, when I'm in those bodies. Okay? So then I'm used to trusting my body, trusting that this is where my body's calling me in this moment with my baby. As I was saying, at this moment, where do I need to be? So just practicing dance. And, I have my beautiful DVD, Dance of the Womb, and my beautiful book, Dance of the Womb. And in that is all the guidance and the sharing that I bring to the awareness of birth through Dance of the Womb, Dance of the Feminine. And also that brings us into our primal brain.
Yes.
So we need to do practices that bring us into that place of release and surrender, meditation, and being calm, relaxing the nervous system.
Right.
Yeah. So the baby feels us in that state of relaxation, of letting go, but still connecting to the energies that are rising up. And so when we play beautiful, sensual, spiritual music, and we just let ourselves go, and we breathe, and we make sounds, and we move, these are really the elements of tantric practice too.
Yeah.
Breath, sound, movement for birthing. And then there's no judgment. I'm not judging myself. I'm not criticizing myself. I'm just letting myself be. And this is what I talk about in the basics of birth. Be in birth. Being in birth. Be where we need to be. Now, then on the flip side of that is we can do all of this preparation in pregnancy, and we can come into that space of really being in our power and being connected and being open to whatever rises up. But the environment within which we birth now plays a part. And that plays a role into how it will support our body to open and be expansive, or will it create us to shut down and become constricted?
Yeah.
And this is where my teachings go into birth professionals, as we talk about what is the environment that we need for birthing. The environment that's within, that a woman has within with her baby, and the environment that's out there. Does it support this kind of philosophy? And we know that this is a big issue. It's incongruent between when you have a woman who really knows this stuff, and then she places herself in an environment that's not supportive or holding space for that to unfold. There's the problem.
Right.
Outside of the home.
Yeah.
Because home birth, we can create that space.
Uh-huh.
If I step into a hospital setting with this kind of knowing, and knowing this is the kind of birth that I want, and then this takes me to where I need to birth is where I feel safe and secure. So again, putting parameters on what that looks and feels like by denying women the place and the space where they feel secure and safe for birth is a travesty. It is wrong to expect a mother to birth in a place where she does not feel that safety within and externally. And so, we have to really look at what kind of environments are we creating, and the foundations of that is based on how do we see birth? How do we look at birth? If we look at birth as a medical clinical experience, that is very, very different to a sacred, spiritual, emotional, and energetic opening and a revelation. So those environments will look very, very different, and the way we attend and look after women will also look and feel very, very different. So this is kind of my work in embodied birth, is really taking a look at these foundational principles of birth, the basics of birth. What is it? And, what are we creating, and why are we creating what we create? Who is it serving? For whose purpose does this serve? Because if we truly care about mothers and babies, and we truly want those babies to be born into the arms of love, as I talk about, then we have to really honestly look at how do we look at women and birthing people? How do we really look truthfully at women who are the bearers and carriers of life? Do we give them respect and dignity and honor? Or are they just fodder that we're just pushing through like a factory?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. How do we look at this experience of birth? And we need to get honest about that out there in that medical system.
Absolutely.
And what I see is it's also very hierarchical. It's based on power structures. It's based on power over.
Yep.
Yep. So, and I talk about midwife means with woman.
Yeah.
Not power over woman or doctor or obstetricians. We all need to really truthfully look at ourselves and look at what is it that I bring to birth? What is it that I carry from my past?
Yeah.
How was I born? What is the imprint of birth in me?
Yeah.
As a somatic understanding,
Yeah.
on a bodily awareness. Yeah. What do I unconsciously bring? So as birth attendants and partners and families, and the woman herself, what is it that I know about birth from what I've been told out here and from what I've experienced as a baby myself?
Yep.
So these all influence, these all create influence.
Absolutely. Such important questions, because it's like you create a field around that birthing woman as the people accompanying her. And if you bring in a vibration of a lot of fear or contraction, that's something that she has to work around or within. And when she's trying
Mm.
to expand, it's all the more difficult, as you're
Yes.
pointing out. Yeah.
Yes. And in my embody birth training, we actually talk about that. And I do a very short little meditation where I take the birth professionals into a very deep place within themselves, and they're very relaxed, and they're sitting by a river, and it's a beautiful day, and the insects are buzzing around, and the water's just gently moving through the river. And then I kind of go bang, and we throw a rock into the river.
Right.
And what happens to the water?
Yeah.
Suddenly that obstruction, and then it has to try and navigate around that rock that wasn't there before.
Yeah.
So that we talk about how many unconscious rocks am I throwing into the river of a birthing mother's journey and her flow, and then creating this need to navigate what wasn't there before. And this we see a lot that happens in the birthing field.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not aware, and we need to be mindful of what is it that I'm doing. Am I able to just sit back?
Yeah.
And be in allowance? How do I be in allowance in my own life as a woman? How do I navigate that part of myself as a woman?
Yeah.
Or as the doctor or the obstetrician or the partner or the family member or the woman herself?
Yeah.
So these are very deep inquiries that help us to clear those channels honestly and truthfully.
Yeah.
If we are look at birth as a rite of passage experience.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about how you think the baby actually informs the woman's experience throughout pregnancy and throughout birth? I know you've had 3 different births and they were all probably different, and so what is that communication, that dance happening between the mother and the baby like, in your opinion? And how can women strengthen that connection as well to their babies?
Well, over the 21 years that I've been teaching, obviously more and more science and information is coming out, and this understanding that the baby is a sentient being. The baby feels, the baby also knows, the baby is in connection to the mother. And on a very basic level, one of the things that really woke me up was understanding how the mother's nervous system impacts the brain wiring of the baby in utero. So the more relaxed and calm and loved a mother feels, and that safety that we just talked about, then the baby's brain is wired in a particular way where the primal brain or the reptilian brain is smaller, and the neocortex, or that ability for more creativity and intelligence in the baby, will grow bigger. And then a woman who is scared, abused, frightened, not relaxed, feeling unsafe, the baby's reptilian brain is larger. And so the baby is born into more states of fight, flight, and freeze. So I found that really, really fascinating to look at. How do we look after pregnant women? How do we really look after them? In this time of incredible transformation and growing this new soul and birthing this soul to the earth, to earth and into our arms of love. So when we understand that the baby is a part of this experience with us, of course, the baby is connected to us. The baby feels what we feel energetically, physically. It tastes the foods that we eat. It responds to the rocking and the movement. It responds to how we feel and think, and our thoughts and our relationship with our partner and our relationship to the wider world. So this baby takes in all of these things as they develop and grow. And it grows in that wiring, and the circuitry of the brain, the synapses of the brain are affected by the mother's experience in the prenatal period. And so this indicates to me we really need to look after mothers and really care for them. But what we have is a world that's putting so much stress on women.
Yeah.
So much external stress and so many things to think about.
Right.
How can we relax? How can we relax when we have this fear that's running through us, and the adrenaline and the cortisol? how that is affecting babies.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we come to give birth, all of that external imposition,
Mm-hmm.
again, telling us how to do, what to do, where we're going to birth.
Mm-hmm.
So then again, we can't relax.
Mm-hmm.
So a baby can't engage in that relaxation with us and that calmness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, in that first hour after birth, that golden hour after birth as well, not to be taken from our mothers. This is the time when the midbrain and the heart through the vagus nerve connects that imprint of love.
Yeah.
What love looks like to a baby, to us as babies, is what we imprint love to be. And if that is abandonment and being taken and severed from our mother, that's what we believe love is.
Yeah.
Or do I stay connected, skin to skin, the cord not cut, or at least allowed to pulse and give me all of my oxygen, all of my blood supply, all of my stem cells. I'm being held in my mother's arms. She's looking into my eyes. I'm feeling her. I'm seeing her. She's smelling me. She's recognizing me. I feel connected. I feel loved. I feel safe. This is the imprint of love that happens in that hour after birth. And people interfere in that, the amount of interference in that to cause that cortisol, the adrenaline, the separation. A mother and a baby are wired to find one another, to engage, to connect at birth. And it starts before conception. We know that too.
Yeah.
You know, the thought of my child, the contemplation of my child calling me to feel me, to alchemize with the sperm, to bind me to these two beautiful people that I'm choosing on my journey. I mean, some people might think this is a crazy way to look at things, but when you follow this way of living and you feel deeply, you know that in life there's more than just what we are told and seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We carry this. We carry this opportunity to raise the level of love consciousness on the planet. And I talk about this a lot around birth, that we as women have the gift of carrying this incredible opportunity to birth within this mindful way to raise love consciousness. And how different would the world look if we handed birth back to women and birthing and said, let me be guided by your light. Let me know, what is it you are feeling? What are you thinking? What are you contemplating? What are you being guided by? We always think that the expert is on the outside.
Right.
Very rare to think that the pregnant mother is the expert. Yeah, and that I should stand back and respectfully listen to her.
Yeah.
And I in my embody birth training to the midwives and birth professionals. How about this for an idea? That the mother and the baby are the experts of birth. And you are just witness. And you are there if something does need to be attended to, or there is an emergency. Yes, for sure. That is true. Again, how many unnecessary rocks are you throwing into her river?
Yeah. I love that analogy. So clear.
Yeah. Yeah. And how would it look if we just stood back and were in allowance of her experience with her baby, her partner, her family? And then I say, then I learn so much when I am with a pregnant mother and when I attended births, as I did as a doula. I was in awe as witness, as anchor, as holding that space. What does that even mean? We hear a lot about holding space. But who are we making it about?
Right.
Are we making it about the birthing mother, or are we making it about ourselves?
Yep.
And I even see this with midwives making it about themselves. You know, and it's like really looking at that and going, it's not about you. It is about being open and allowing that mother to navigate the call of birth. Where is it that she needs to go with her baby? And if she asks for my guidance, if she asks for my help, if she asks for my assistance, I am there for her. Yeah. I am not there interfering before she's even had a chance to open into the experience. And this is what we're seeing happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I do envisage, Nancy, in my, visionary world, I do envisage a little utopia. If we had a little island where women could birth like this, what could that look and feel like? How different might that look to the global world of birth?
Yeah.
If we really just said to women, here is birth, it is yours. And that woman took that and said, it is mine. I am prepared to walk this road wherever it takes me, in my strength, in my confidence, in my fear, in my joy, in my humbleness, in whatever is shown to me. Because I say, how can you take this expansive experience and have this linear view instead of 360-degree vision of birth, and look behind me, look to the side of me, look in front of me, and go, I am open to receive what birth will give me.
Yep.
That is how I stepped into home birthing my daughter at 46, my third child.
I wanted to get to this, so go ahead.
Because there is no way I could have birthed her at home at that age if I had listened to the doctors on the outside.
Yep.
And the medical world telling me what's not possible.
Right.
And when I went to see the doctor I had to have just blood tests, checking my iron, etc. He said to me, but what if things go wrong? And I looked at him and I said to him, what about if everything goes right?
Yeah.
Why don't we start with the possibility of what's possible in a positive way than what's impossible, and work up from impossibility?
Yes, exactly.
It's very difficult to work up from impossibility, but it's easier to open to what's possible when I have that support. And so I walked out of his office and he kind of looked at me and thought, a woman who's speaking her voice, a woman who knows what she wants, we can't have that, And I had great delight in calling his office after I had given birth to my daughter and said, can you please tell the doctor that I had a beautiful home birth? Daughter, 8 pounds, healthy, happy, gorgeous baby, but yes, that was why there was no way I could go to hospital, because there was nothing wrong with me. It was my third child. It was like my last chance. I knew, this is my last chance. Give it to me. Give me all that birth has to offer me. I want to understand it implicitly. So I am completely open to this experience. Take me to the places where I need to go. Take me to my fear. Take me to my joy. Take me to where I feel frightened. Take me to where I feel scared. How am I going to get this baby out? What is it going to look? Take me there. Yeah. Take me to where I'm angry at the abuse of my father from my childhood. Yeah. Take me to those places. So it was my willingness, and this is what we need.
Yes.
A willingness. How do I find that willingness within me when bearing down on me like a tsunami is all of this negative view of birth?
Right.
How can I stand in my strength, in my integrity, at my core, and say, I am open to whatever arises? And that is the place I take women to in my embodied birth, in through the dance, in through my teaching, because I was willing to walk the fire completely, unconditionally.
Yeah.
I said, I want to experience unconditional birth. So I know what this looks and feels like, to enhance my personal experience and to enhance my work in the world. And so at 46, I had a beautiful home birth midwife, Jane, who we are still very good friends. She does a lot of postnatal work now. And together we walked that path. But I was the one who stood at the front, and she was humble and stood with me, not in power over me, and listened to what it was that I truly wanted in this third birth of mine. And so we both stayed open to what this was going to reveal. And in the birth itself, it's an interesting idea. We talk a lot about oxytocin being the birth hormone, and we also talk about, preparing for birth. So how can I prepare the channels so the release of oxytocin and endorphins will be what carries me through birth, rather than adrenaline and these kinds of, negative hormones. And what's so interesting is I was in a very safe space when I gave birth to my daughter, and I was using the belly dance birth movements. I was very deep in my body. It was a very potent experience. I was supported. I was loved. Yet still, in this place where the oxytocin was being released, I excavated so deeply down into my body that I hit a place that I had never really gone into before around my childhood. And I'd had a very abusive father, and I was taken from my mother as a 6-month-old baby.
Oh, wow.
I was at boarding school when I was 4. I had a stepmother at 7, and I found my natural mother when I was 33 in Lebanon. So I carried a lot in the depths of my body, in the cellular memory of my body, in the energetic corners and places in my body. And so what happens is when we can go down and excavate into these places, which is, if birth is a somatic experience, an experience that is a transforming experience, then we can go down into these levels of our body and touch on places where we have put a veil over, or we've created armoring around the body. Birth is an opportunity to go deeply to these places that we think we've looked at, but the potency can arise in birth. And this is what happened to me in active labor. So even though we say that oxytocin will protect us from adrenaline or fear states, I actually, after her birth, saw a different doorway open.
Okay, yeah.
I saw that in that deep place of relaxation, I was actually able to access, which is part of those mystical codes, of something in my body telling me, you need to look at this.
Yeah.
And birth that took me there. And all of my labor stopped. And I was in active labor, rhythmic labor. And I felt this memory and the feeling of deep, deep grief activate in my body. And I felt it move through my body and rise to be released.
Wow.
And I just burst into tears. I was crying and crying. And because I was in that oxytocin state, it didn't mean that everything was just so blissful and wonderful and it actually meant that I had to go to the hard places. And I saw a different part of birth.
Yeah.
Whether I was older because I was so open with that 360-degree vision, I don't know. But I was in that allowance. And so that willingness and that intention allowed me to go to that place. And out came that memory and released through my body. I could feel it like smoke rising. It's really hard to explain. It was like an energetic shift moving through my body, which people talk about is sexually can happen. Through a somatic sexual experience or a very conscious sexual experience, like the Kundalini.
Yep.
It was that same kind of thing, but it was like something that I had been holding for many, many years had this chance to open and escape and reveal itself. And in that moment, I just cried and cried tears of grief, deep, wretched tears of grief. And all my contractions stopped. And everyone around me, there was just silence holding the space for me. And I think someone brought a candle and a photo of my mum. And I looked and I just cried more and more. And it was like years of maybe even my mother's tears through me as well. And maybe her mother and the ancient lineage of all the women who had grief around the power of the masculine over. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like I was releasing something very old, as well as my own personal story. And I cry when I tell this because it was just so powerful. And I came out of birth and I said, birth is a place for healing. If women could be given this place, please, I see the vision of what it could be. And it's real. It's a bodily, real, emotional excavation and clearing. And then I saw and I realized that is how we clear the channels for our babies to be
Yeah.
born of.
Yeah.
So we're not allowing women this opportunity. We are so superficial about birth. The way we explain and describe, in a general sense, I'm talking from that sort of medical lens. It's very basic and it's very disrespectful.
Yeah. To the
Of a woman,
totality of who we are as the
and what we be and what we can create.
Yeah.
And so, as a birth worker and as a woman who's had these experiences, sometimes I think when I tell people, they must think I'm talking another language, because most women don't really know what this is.
Right.
It's a very small percentage who get what this is.
Yeah.
But if we created a world where all women had this opportunity to have birth reveal itself in the way it needs to reveal itself to you, and you can work with that, and carry your baby and hold your baby in that knowing of what is life on this earth. What are we here for?
Yeah.
To expand love, because people talk about it as an intellectual idea.
Right.
But birth gives us the experiential knowing and experience. And we are not giving this to women. And that is my frustration.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
So
I know.
much. It's so beautiful. I also had tears in my eyes. And this is something that I've thought about a lot too. Is like we have this incredible opportunity to hold this pure consciousness in our wombs. And for me, it's like the inevitability of healing that comes with that. I mean, it's just so clear because there is this bright light within you. And like, I think the nature of evolution and the nature of consciousness is that it does always want to expand, And so if you allow that process to happen, these incredible transformations can take place. And I think that if it doesn't take place in labor or in birth, it tries to take place in postpartum.
Yes.
I really believe that can be true. I know that with my birth, I'm not going to get into the whole story, but like, yeah, I hit the walls of things in labor,
Yes.
and then I went through that deeper transformation of a deep core fear of mine,
Yes.
postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to go through it in birth, though, is amazing because then you can move through it and you can birth in that way that you're saying nature intended. It's
And then
beautiful.
And in menopause now is that I'm even going deeper into that. So the unresolved story, the residue of the story gets accessed again in menopause. So then I look at how I was willing to go there in birth. So I must allow my willingness to show itself and flower again in my menopause. Because I did it here. So I have to then complete the whole cycle. I need to at least complete this cycle. And this is what I see menopause is taking me even deeper into that unresolved residue of the womb. And it's so beautiful. So I because I didn't have that fear in the birth and I was able to come to that place, it actually puts me in good stead for this next rite of passage cycle, which is menopause, which is another story. But so the way we birth, people say the way we birth is the way we live. And I really see that now at 55 years of age. I can see the longevity now. I've got enough years under my belt to see how it unfolds, how the garden grows, how the roots of the tree find their depth, how the branches of myself, my story, my experiences start to branch out and grow and connect to others. And that aging is giving me that perspective of understanding this language of the feminine, this journey of woman in a depth that unfortunately society tries to kind of block, shame, numb, ties. And we can talk about my experience of, being in the worldwide media advocating breastfeeding.
Yeah.
And that showed me how ignorant we are in society.
Yeah.
And how we are trying to always modify women's experiences and not allow her voice to roar and speak. So there's the roar, and then there's the quiet spoken, like the feather and the tiger, everything in between.
Yeah.
And so whichever posture you are, there's criticism about that.
Yeah.
Whichever part of me, someone's going to attack me.
Yeah.
And it was interesting with doing this whole, showing myself to the world, breastfeeding order from 2012 till 2016. I was in the worldwide media advocating for natural term breastfeeding older children, cultivating and caring for this relationship between mother, baby, mother, child in breastfeeding. A way of looking after my child, having that choice to breastfeed my child with my medicine from my medicine chest.
Yeah.
So, there I am denied or attacked something that is natural.
Yeah.
Being told, don't use the word natural now. We're not allowed to use the word natural. Excuse me. I can use whatever word I want.
Yeah.
What I can use and what I can't use and what I can and cannot do.
Right.
What is going on?
Yeah.
I realize what's going on is the severing of mothers from her instinct. There's wider power going on here. And it's going on in many pockets, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, of severing mothers from their instinct. And I used to think, why is it that there's this attack on breastfeeding your baby? This is like basic stuff.
Right.
It's a choice.
Yep.
If you choose to do the bottle formula, breastfeeding, whatever you choose, it is part of choice. But why are we denying this choice more and more and more, and vilifying and shaming mothers? And so it was a very interesting 4 years of being in documentaries and speaking out and being interviewed in magazines and TV and just watching all of this unravel and unfold. And at the end of it, I thought, it's something about severing mothers from their instinct. And it's starting in the pregnancy birth experience as well.
Yep.
What need to control the feminine, what's going on? And I'm not going to talk about it now because I have my ideas around it.
Yep.
And I came out of that saying, I want to be the custodian of mother's instinct. I want to preserve this that has always been, that is being taken from us. Whilst I'm on this planet, I pronounce myself as the custodian of mother's instinct and encourage other women to hold that and not let that be taken from you.
Yeah.
Because it is your truth. It is your knowing. It is your instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we don't have that, the world is in a mess.
That's right. That's right.
And we're seeing that mess. And it's, I'm advocating hard to stay strong in your truth. Yeah. Which doesn't mean don't ask for help or assistance or read books or look at videos or listen to interviews. It's just coming back to my connection with my baby. What is needed here? What am I being called to do? Outside of all of those distractions, what is my heart speaking to me? And usually we find that is the right answer, or that is the answer that is the best answer for you and your baby.
Yep.
Coming back to that, because we know this has been going for a long time, mothering, parenting, and today there is so much information out there that it's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's very hard now. We didn't have social media and internet 1 year ago when I had my son.
Yep.
Yeah. I say to women, the living book is within, read her.
Yep.
And turn that into the living Google is within, read her. Come back to that knowing, come back to the instinctual, feeling that you have with your baby. Nobody knows your baby the way you know your baby. You are intrinsically connected with this soul. This baby has come from you, through you. So the more expanded we become, the more conscious we become, the more we become in touch with this instinct, all those codes,
Yep.
mothering codes.
Mm-hmm.
And then no matter what anyone says to you, and this is what the media found very hard with me, was that I wasn't buying into their,
Yeah.
I was saying, can you go and stand by that tree and kind of hang her in this way and breastfeed her? And I'd say, so they could film me,
Right.
and I'd say, but that's not how I breastfeed.
Right.
Quietly, and she has breastfeeds, and I might be just chatting to you, and I might be, chopping up some vegetables, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not so sensational. Why are you trying to create this
Right.
ridiculous sensation of breastfeeding and mothering?
Yep.
It was ridiculous, Nancy. Some of the things I could tell you.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, yeah. And I was trying to just normalize what is normal.
Yep.
Yeah, for some women. It doesn't
Yeah.
say that if you don't breastfeed that you're a bad mother, or,
Right. Right.
I never ever said that. I said,
Yeah.
choose what works for you and your baby and
Yep.
your child.
Yep.
And let's just put all those choices into the mix,
Yep.
and then do what works for you.
Yeah.
And don't have to shame mothers or sensationalize or attack or vilify.
Right.
And it's a relationship that you have as the child gets older.
Mm. Mm.
And, I had thousands of emails and messages from women. Thank you so much. And because of you, I've continued to breastfeed. And I'm standing up to my partner or my family and saying, no, this is what we're doing.
Yep. Yep.
And so, I sort of did it at a time when it wasn't fashionable. When I first started talking about the whole breastfeeding in 2012, it was like, the woman on Time, Jamie, had stood up on the Time magazine, and then I kind of came along and said, well, look, I'm 49, my daughter's 3.5, I'm still breastfeeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the big deal?
Right.
And that's when the media contacted me, and so it sort of flowed from there. But it was quite funny, because having birthed my boys, all those years ago in the 96 and 99, that's what we did. We breastfed our babies.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's happened?
I know. I lived part-time in Guatemala when I was breastfeeding my daughter, and I breastfed her till about 3.5. And
Yes.
it was so nice, because all of the indigenous women, that's just what they did, and there
Yes.
would be 6-year-olds running up and grabbing a little bit of milk and running away.
Yes.
Nobody cared. Nobody said anything. Nobody asked me to cover up, and I just really got used to that beautiful flow. And then when I would show up to the US, it was suddenly like, oh my God, cover up. You can't be here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's crazy. So I really appreciate those crazy interviews you did with all of them. I mean, I've only watched a few, but I was really struck by how confident you were, and just how you're like, look, this is just what we do. And I have 3 beautiful children to thank for it, and they're healthy, and that's all that matters to me. And I'm just like, dang, that is a confident, amazing woman. So yeah, you're very inspirational to me.
Oh, thanks.
Because that's hard to do in that environment.
Yes, exactly. And, I am renowned for going to the tough places, that's for sure. I don't go to places that protect me. I actually go to places that are hard to stand in and speak truth, where it's difficult.
Yeah.
For me, that's where my conscientiousness lies.
That's your medicine.
Yeah, going where it's tough, speaking out for truth, speaking for justice, speaking for mother's choice, baby's choice, speaking up for the instinct of the mother.
Yep.
Because what I'm seeing is a worry. And and there are times when I think, wow, yeah, I feel my age now. And, I've been having kids for 21 years, and to see how it was 21 years ago and to now, and my daughter's only 9, so I'm still in the thick of the childhood.
Yeah.
But just seeing the changes so rapidly.
Yeah.
And that and asking why, what is going on, especially from the experiences that I've had. And I would like women to have the opportunity to at least have these choices. So it's like the pathway or the vision of birth that I have runs parallel with the other pathways. So it's saying, you look over here.
Yeah.
Perhaps this interests you.
Yeah.
As well, look over here. And then the mother who is at the center with her baby, makes her choice in relation to her circumstance and her confidence and her strength, because that is what it's about. It's about building who we are as women.
Yeah.
Through these prime mover experiences, such as birth.
Yep.
This is what makes me who I am.
Absolutely. That
Right?
empowerment you can carry with you for the rest of your life. Absolutely.
Yes, it is true. And it's important, as you say before, what I see myself, actually, I don't see myself as empowering women, because to me, that's, I've got the power and I'm giving it to you. You have the power. What I see you do is I inspire you.
Yeah.
I inspire you to find the power within you. I inspire you to look beyond and see, and then look within and see. Just that flow of inspiration is what I think mothers need today more than ever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I hope to be an inspiration.
Oh, yes, you absolutely are.
Yeah.
Well, the time has flown by as I knew it would. I knew it would be so hard to not get more,
Yes.
to stop now. But before we get off, I would love if you could just share, and we will have links for everyone, but just share briefly a little bit about your offerings, and especially those online for people watching around the world.
Sure. Well, now I have my beautiful book, Dance of the Womb, that you can purchase as a hard copy on my website or on Amazon. It's available as an ebook. And I also have my DVD, Dance of the Womb, which is a follow-up to my book. So all of the belly dance birth movements are on the DVD. My home birth film is on the DVD. So you can download those on my website. So that's an immediate download. And I also do embodied birth training, but I do sponsored training all over the world. So you can get in touch with me for that. I've just come back from China last month. So the first time in China teaching over there. And then next year, I'm going to be putting together an online pregnancy course, an introduction to embodied birth and belly dance birth and some of the things we've been speaking about. Yeah. So, and I have many blogs on my website. And so mainly the thing that will help people immediately is my book and my DVD.
Yeah.
And I've got some embodied birth inspirational cards that are downloadable as well. So we're just building up more offerings on my website into next year. And I have, my Facebook page is Maha Al Musa, Independent Childbirth Educator. So you can follow me there. My Instagram, Maha Al Musa as well. So I'm out there in the world, and more and more building that up a bit. I was a bit resistant to the whole social media internet because of the digital world. But I have a wonderful digital marketing manager now. So she's really helping me to get all of that more and more out there for women to have access to.
Good.
And so you can find me and Google me and see what I've done as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.
I'm actually asking everyone this one last question. It's very brief. And it is, if you could go back in time before you had your first child and sum up, now that you have all of this knowledge and wisdom, one piece of advice in a sentence, what would it be?
Follow your heart's knowing and stay true to that.
Yep. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been such an honor, such a joy to talk to you. You imparted such beautiful wisdom with us today, and I really, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're doing, Nancy. It's wonderful. Yeah, you're beautiful. I love all your posts and everything that you are doing. And that's what we see. We see the sisterhood is big. It's, there's a strong connection out there. So women never feel that you are alone. There are those who've walked the path, who are walking the path with you. Together we keep going. In our hearts and in that place of love. And whatever rises up is valuable and valid. Always remember that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Mama stay, we say in my embodied birth.
Mama stay. I love that. Oh, Mama stay. Thank you, Maha. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks, darling.
Bye.